Hello, friends. So, I wanted to talk today about arguments and how you react in an argument. And then also, I heard this very thought provoking question the other day. So, I'm going to pose the question to you and kind of explain my personal experience with it a little bit. But first, during arguments happen. Even couples who have great communication skills can argue sometimes. And a lot of times, how you react in the argument could help set you up for good communication after the argument. I feel it's very important to come together after an argument when everybody has calmed down and everyone can, talk clear headedly or just kind of calmly about what happened in the argument, maybe what triggered the argument, and how you can maybe avoid the argument in the future. Um, all arguments are not avoidable. Sometimes people are overstimulated, sometimes they're overworked, sometimes they're overwhelmed. Sometimes you just can't help but yell, and that's okay, you're human, and that happens. So, in the midst of an argument, if you feel yourself getting to the point where all you want to do is scream, or all you want to do is yell, or maybe you start bringing up all of the things that have ever happened in the past, that's probably a good time to take a little time out from the argument. So, a little timeout means that you and whoever you're arguing with will go to separate rooms or separate spaces. Maybe one of you will go for a walk around the block, but it's just kind of like a 5 to 10 minute cool down period, right? You get a timeout, you get to breathe a little bit, you get to collect your thoughts again, and you get to just kind of relax within yourself. Sometimes helping an argument end means that you're de escalating the situation. And you can't do that if you're all amped up and the person you're arguing with is all amped up. It's really hard for you guys to come back together and calm down. So you want to separate. Usually 5 to 10 minutes. Um, Sometimes a bit longer, but you you want to try to do it quickly. You don't want it to feel like you're abandoning the person you're arguing with or they're abandoning you by separating for a couple days or something. But you also don't want to follow the person and try to resolve it right then and there because everybody needs some space sometimes to collect their thoughts. And then when you come back from the timeout, maybe you're still arguing. Maybe you're not. Most of the time, 5 to 10 minutes is enough time for everybody to kind of calm down and refocus on what's happening. And then you can talk about the argument. Was the argument started because of an issue you've had over and over again? How can we work on that? How can we change that? Was the argument just started because everybody was hungry and it's been a busy day and nobody's had time to eat? Or, there are so many different reasons for how or why arguments start. But if you're not doing any of the work to figure out how or why they're starting, they're just going to keep starting, right? So you want to figure out what's happening and then you want to try to avoid it in the future, right? Like if everybody is hungry and nobody's eaten and it's just been a really busy day and you guys start kind of arguing about little things, hopefully you can take a deep breath and say, hey, maybe we should take a minute, try to collect ourselves, let's eat something, and let's not escalate the argument. Sometimes it's uncontrollable and it just escalates, and that happens too. Nobody's perfect. You're not going to get it right every time, and that's okay. The point of, arguing is to resolve something. You're not arguing because everything's going good and there's nothing to talk about. And sometimes in an argument, you or the person you're arguing with could bring up something that really does need a discussion. Not an argument, but a discussion. Because a lot of times when you're arguing with someone, you're defensive, they're defensive, and nobody's really resolving anything, but it could bring up issues that do need resolving. So, on to the thought provoking question. Somebody had asked, how does your spouse react when you are crying? And I was able to hear numerous responses, and I also had my own personal response. And it was so eye opening to me how different everybody's experience is. Some of the experiences were very sad to me. I felt really bad for them. I didn't think it was an appropriate reaction to somebody crying. And for me, it just made me feel very grateful for the husband that I have. The other day, I was sitting in the kitchen and he was in the kitchen as well, and something had triggered a memory and it made me sad. And I started crying, and he came over right away and he hugged me and rubbed my back and just listened to me explain why I was crying and what made me sad. And, I was able to let go of it all. I was able to cry. I was able to talk to him. And he was just so comforting. And he just held me until I didn't need to be held anymore. And I'm so grateful that I get to have experiences like that. I am so thankful that that is the reaction that my spouse has when I'm crying. And the same is reverse. Like when he's crying, I will go and hug him and talk him through it and listen to what he has to say and really get to the bottom of why he's upset. Um, and I'm just grateful that we get to have that experience. And I want to know what your experience is like. I actually asked all of my friends on my Facebook page, and it was such a big mix, Some spouses are supportive, some spouses are not supportive, some spouses just don't see a reason for crying, some spouses laugh about it. Some spouses, if they feel like they caused the sadness, they get really defensive. And it was so interesting to see such a mix of different responses. Um, but I had never really thought about it before. I guess I was kind of naive and just assumed that everybody had the same experience I did. And it's so silly for me to think that now. Like looking back, I can't believe I thought that everyone's experience would be the same because, of course, it's not. Everybody is so different. So let me know in the comments how your spouse or partner or boyfriend, girlfriend, anything, fiance, whatever your situation is, let me know how they respond when you're crying and tell me how you respond when they're crying. And is it a good response or is it something you want to work on? Let me know in the comments and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.